Hello, I would like to welcome Dr. Sanchez and my classmates to my presentation. My name is Christina Harding, and this is for Human Resource Management, MGT 6177.E1 at Amberton University. I'm a store manager with Goodwill Industries of southeastern Wisconsin and metropolitan Chicago. It's the largest Goodwill organization in the world. I've been with Goodwill in retail management for nearly 8 years. Goodwill is a nonprofit organization that has been serving their communities for over 100 years. Our mission is to provide training, employment, and supportive services for people with disabilities or disadvantages who seek greater independence. Goodwill is all about a hand up, not a handout. Working at a retail thrift store, we are the cash cows for the mission. My job as store manager is to maximize donations, drive sales, control expenses, and increase profit margin. My presentation today is on employee motivation and productivity in the nonprofit retail sector. Through literature review and scholarly research, I have studied the effect of motivation on employee productivity, and I have learned that motivated employees have higher levels of productivity overall. Production is one of the most important functions of my store. We work diligently to process donations quickly and efficiently, pricing the best items at the right price and getting them out to the sales floor as swiftly as possible. First, let's talk about employee motivation. What is motivation? It is the energy a worker brings to their job. It is how engaged an employee is to the organization's goals and mission. Having workers that are connected and enthusiastic about Goodwill's mission is extremely important. We want our team to know and understand the mission and what they can do to help to support it. Employee motivation is also the level of commitment and creativity employees bring to work, as well as their internal drive to act and perform at work. Having a team that is dedicated, punctual, and innovative is vital to our success because we have company standards and metrics that must be achieved and wouldn't be possible without a very supportive team. Next, employee productivity is the measure of the quantity and quality of work done, considering the cost of the resources used. It is the amount of work completed or the output of an employee during their shift. We look at several productivity standards at Goodwill, each monitored and tracked daily, weekly, and monthly. We'll be looking at those later on in the presentation. Productivity is also the output of an employee during a specific time period and the assessment of the efficiency of each worker. Our management team monitors average pricing for the team's production several times a day. We do that to ensure pricing standards are in line with the region and the company. The ways in which employees are motivated has changed significantly over time. In the 1960s and 70s, employees were motivated to stay with their job, have longevity with that organization, and an ample pension. In the 80s, it was all about salaries, bonuses, and incentives. In the 90s, employees were big into tech and quick to trade salary for equity in the company. In the 2000s, it was all about corporate culture and swag. That meant on-site gyms and huge employee cafeterias serving free food. Now, as the workforce is heavily populated with millennials, organizations are focusing on meaningful work and profound experiences. Employees now want a great work-life balance. They want to experience their life, not work through it. They also want personalized recognition, not lump sum rewards. We're currently at a momentous time in our history. With millennials in the workforce, we have 5 generations at work. Learning how to motivate a multi-generational staff is essential for a thriving business. Currently at my store, with a team of 40 to 50 associates, I have a wide range of employees from 16 to 72 years old, so nearly all 5 generations are at work at my store. How I motivate a 16-year-old cashier to effectively perform her job is vastly different from how I motivate my 72-year-old sales floor associate. And it's not only how I motivate them, it's how I value their differences and utilize their unique experiences, thoughts, and concerns. It's important to avoid labels or stereotypes when working with a multi-generational team. As a manager, it's best to embrace the diversity in your team and encourage them to build friendships and even promote mentoring. Everyone has the opportunity to learn from their coworkers, no matter their age. For instance, the sales floor associate I mentioned, he recently learned how to operate the cash register. And guess who taught him? That's right, the 16-year-old cashier. They even had a great time working together during his lesson. She was very patient with him, and he asked applicable questions. It really was a great experience for them both. So how do we motivate our team? What are some strategies managers can use? First, we need to set goals. Employees must know what is expected of them, and these goals need to be aligned with the organization. We need to give feedback, early and often. Waiting for appraisal time to have a conversation is a huge mistake. We need to be timely with both positive and negative feedback. It's what our team deserves and what they want. Managers can also empower their team to make decisions. We can encourage them to solve problems and offer advice or suggestions only as needed or when specifically asked. Managers also need to be open to hearing their employees' feedback and not only hear it, but take their suggestions into consideration and follow through on those recommendations. We also need to recognize and reward our team. Depending on the situation, it's often effective to recognize employees at group meetings or team huddles. Again, depending on the situation, having small treats or prizes ready can be quite motivating and fun for the team. Finally, we can motivate our team by developing a career path with them. Do they have a future within your organization? Do they know what steps they'll need to take to achieve that promotion? Could their future lie outside your department? As a manager, it's vital to let our employees know what opportunities or advancements are possible with a little motivation and hard work. So once our team is motivated, what can we expect? First and foremost, increased productivity. After all, a productive team is why we're here. We should also see increased retention and reduced turnover. Working in retail, historically, there is always a high turnover rate. Working in a retail thrift store is a whole nother level. Prior to the current pandemic our country is experiencing, my store last reported turnover of 215%. It's staggering, I know. It's essential for us to determine what we need to do to reduce turnover and retain our staff. Also, with a motivated team, we should see satisfied and engaged employees. There should be a greater emotional connection amongst our staff, both with each other, the management team, and our customers and donors. Managers should see their team making decisions, solving problems, and feeling really confident about it. Finally, as a nonprofit, a motivated team will be supportive of their mission they're serving. Now, there are challenges both managers and employees will face during this process. Employees will find motivation difficult if they don't have clear direction, or if there's a lack of training or poor training. Maybe they were hired during a big shortage and their training was rushed. Regardless of the situation, when employees are onboarded, we as managers need to ensure they are adequately trained and prepared for their new position. It's also difficult to stay motivated if there are too many distractions. Again, when considering a multi-generational workforce, each person has a unique situation and endless distractions are inevitable. Additionally, there can be competition amongst employees, which can lead to conflict. We tend to see this in the production area, where employees are working to be the top producer. Finally, employees might not be motivated because they aren't fully aware of their job and all the tasks and duties it entails. Having a complete and accurate job description is essential, and managers need to ensure their team fully understands it. Managers can find it difficult to motivate their team when faced with frequent excuses. Yes, everyone has important matters in their lives. However, when it's time to work and be productive, these excuses can be huge hurdles for management. Also, in a busy retail environment, managers occasionally have a hard time giving lots of personal attention. This can definitely affect employee training and overall be quite demotivating. And with a high turnover, we are seeing a constant flow of new hires. Each takes time and effort, and other motivational endeavors with other associates tend to get pushed to the back burner. Finally, managers will find it hard to motivate their team if they don't know what drives them. Taking time to learn about your team members, asking questions, and developing a relationship will help managers create a bond and learn effective ways to motivate. The first article I read is a framework for strategies in employee motivation. In this article, the authors research employee motivation over the past century to determine the current and future motivational practices management will need to utilize. Through their research, they developed a list of 5 common occurring themes in employee motivation. They are the employee, the position, the supervisor, the organization, and the policies. The individual refers to the essential motivators for that employee. The position refers to the job. The supervisor refers to the management and their impact on the employee. The organization refers to the influencing elements surrounding the employee. And the policies are the rules and regulations in the workplace. The researchers divided last century into 3 periods. The historical period, which is from 1970 to 1979, the traditional period from 1980 to 1999, and the contemporary period from 2000 to the present. During the historical period, employees were motivated by internal drivers and challenging work. Employees wanted to succeed. They were also motivated to work harder to achieve greater rewards. During the traditional period, there were huge growths in technology. With the internet and personal computers, the job market was booming. Employees were motivated by challenging work that kept their job interesting. They also wanted to receive recognition and feedback for their accomplishments. Finally, the current period, the contemporary period, the researchers found that societal factors significantly affected the workplace, including stress, false hopes, and insecurities. As computers are at our fingertips, many employees find they're working more than the standard 40 hours a week, and they are never really away from work. Often managers expect an instant response since employees always have their phone on them at all times. The researchers ask an important question: what happens when there is no longer a drive or desire to work? What motivates each employee is vastly different, and they have a need for the value of work and positive feedback. Retaining high-performing employees requires all 5 themes mentioned earlier coming together. The employee needs to believe in their abilities and the position with properly set goals. The supervisor must provide positive feedback. The organization must give them the feeling of belongingness, and the policies are in place to reward the employee for all their efforts. Some suggestions from this study. As the future holds many challenges, compelling the workforce to become more adaptive and more robust is more important than ever before. Managers must take a different approach to their teams going forward to strive for longevity in their organization. Additionally, there must be a willingness for change for the success and the enhancement of the workforce in the future. Finally, forward thinking will help to establish a stronger and more resilient workforce. The second article I studied was the individual approach to employee motivation. Is it worthwhile in the 21st century? In this study, researchers looked at motivational strategies used from childhood to adulthood to help to determine how to improve productivity in the workplace. They determined individuals need motivation to perform or succeed. The motivational strategies they concluded were tangible and intangible. Tangible motivators are physical things we can give our team to motivate, such as treats or prizes or money. Intangible motivators are often verbal, such as praise or recognition. The researchers found that motivating with tangible items was important because people appreciate rewards they can see and receive. They also found that employees wanted to be comfortable at work, and that management was responsible for creating a good environment for the team. Additionally, employees wanted intrinsic rewards, such as meaningfulness, choice, competence, and progress. These rewards align with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. These basic needs correspond with what employees look for at their job: somewhere to work that is not harmful to their mental health, a safe place with job security, a sense of purpose, and a place where they feel valued. If employers provided all of these things to their employees, they should see lower turnover rates. Some suggestions from this study. First, employers must implement empowerment and involvement as part of the company's core culture. Employers must also look at alternative incentive programs based on job performance and not just annually. Offering quarterly incentives would help to keep the team motivated throughout the year. Corporate also needs to provide more training for managers. As their teams are changing, managers need to continue their education and develop with their teams. As we're focusing on productivity, management must constantly encourage their employees to work harder. And finally, management needs to keep an open mind. After all, what works for some will not work for all. Now back to the nonprofit retail store. What are the metrics we use to analyze our sales floor? First, we have ShopperTrack. ShopperTrack uses retail analytics to give us a conversion rate. The system monitors the number of customers that enters the store and the number of transactions for the given time period. Our goal is to achieve a conversion of 50% or more. We also have the Happy or Not terminal, allowing customers to give immediate feedback on the time in our store and their overall satisfaction with a quick tap of the smiley before exiting the store. There is also the option to round up at the register. The cashiers ask customers to round up to the nearest dollar, and that money goes to further support Goodwill's mission. We're looking for a conversion over 40%, and that's the total number of transactions that a cashier rings to the number of transactions a customer agrees to round up. We also track and monitor attendance and punctuality, in accordance with Goodwill's Retail Attendance SOP. We work to follow up with the associates on their attendance points as frequently as possible. If our team on the sales floor is motivated, the ShopperTrack conversions should be high. The Happy or Not results should be mostly green. The roundup conversion should be well over 40%, and we should have few attendance occurrences because our team is motivated and productive. Utilizing these metrics can be very telling for a nonprofit retail store. For instance, my store runs high on ShopperTrack and Roundup, and we do relatively well on Happy or Not also. However, we do have a rough time with attendance and punctuality. So overall, we're right around mid-range for motivation. So we definitely have quite a bit of work to do. In the back of house, we have a different set of metrics. Our associates have production standards they must achieve. Each position has a pieces per hour minimum. We monitor it several times a day, post weekly results, and have one-on-one conversations at the end of each month. Failing to meet standards results in corrective action, so management must ensure that they have done everything possible for the associate to help them succeed. We also track average price produced. Again, each area has a standards. Soft lines is over $5.50, hard lines is over $2.40. Why is this important? Well, because Goodwill has pricing guidelines for all the stores to follow. We want similar pricing at all of our locations since many customers frequent multiple stores even each day. And like with the sales floor associates, we track attendance, punctuality in the stockroom too. Looking at these metrics, a motivated team will produce at or above standard for units and average pricing. They will also have few occurrences in attendance. Currently, we run pretty average to pricing and over on average dollars produced for each area. Some limitations on the studies that I read. Both articles researched other studies and utilized historical data. Neither used current businesses or organizations for examples. It would have been beneficial to conduct a survey with employees to get real-world data and to support their ideas and theories. Also, polling active supervisors or managers would have been valuable to gain another perspective. So what are the recommendations for the 21st century workforce? First, management must overcome challenges and be adaptive and resilient. They must also work to let their employees know they are appreciated. After all, employee motivation is important to keep the company alive. Managers must take an individual approach to motivation, as there isn't a one-size-fits-all mentality here. We need to reward our teams properly to help drive a higher level of morale for the company. Finally, managers need to treat their team like people, not just like workers. To conclude, managing in the 21st century is vastly different than ever before. Management must be aware of this and adjust their tactics to motivation. We must also realize employees are often burnt out, overworked, and sometimes fail to see their significance in the workplace. Knowing this, what can managers do differently? And as we work to reduce turnover and increase retention, we need to avoid tactics that fail to motivate the team, like micromanaging. Finally, as change is the only constant, managers need to relentlessly adjust their approach to properly engage and motivate their team. Thank you for taking the time to view my presentation. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe.